Hey there, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we want to share with you our New England and Canada cruise experience on board the Emerald Princess. On this cruise, we explored some fantastic ports, saw some amazing sights, and enjoyed the unique charm of each destination. So let's dive into each stop and show you what made this journey unforgettable. Let's start with a quick overview of the ship that we got to spend an entire week on. The Emerald Princess is a beautiful mid-sized cruise ship, and if I had to describe it, I would say that it's a mix of luxury and comfort. This ship offers plenty of activities for all types of travelers. During our trip, there were a variety of shows and entertainment options that kept us entertained throughout the day and even the evening. So when it comes to the rooms, we stayed in a balcony room. You can tell that the rooms were a little dated. However, they were well kept. The rooms offered your standard things like your TV, mini fridge, desk area, and of course, what cruise line wouldn't be complete without a tiny bathroom? Well, since this ship is an older ship, it's lacking on the plugs and the USB ports. I would recommend bringing an adapter if you have several things that you need to charge, because this ship really just didn't have much to offer when it came to that. The Emerald Princess was built in 2007. However, it underwent a major renovation in 2019. Most of that was to add or renovate several restaurant areas. They updated some of the common areas as well, the stage, entertainment area, and the theater, kids club, the sanctuary, and just a few other areas around the ship. Now let's talk about dining. When it comes to dining, the ship did have a variety of dining options. Now they had, of course, the traditional Maine dining rooms, and they had specialty restaurants like the Crown Grill Steakhouse, Sabatini's Italian. Now these specialty restaurants will cost you extra, unless, of course, you have the Princess Premier Package. However, whether you have the package or not, you will still need to get a reservation. The ship also has a couple casual dining areas like the Steamers Seafood and Planks Barbecue. Now these also require reservation and are included in both the Princess Plus and Princess Premier packages. Now I can tell you, Planks Barbecue was absolutely delicious, and I would definitely eat there again. If you've eaten there, tell me what you thought in the comments below. A few other restaurants that are included in the price of your cruise and that don't need a reservation are, of course, the buffet at the Horizon Court, Salty Dog Grill, the Slice Pizzeria if you're looking for some great pizza. You can also enjoy some snacks or dessert options down at the International Cafe. When it comes to entertainment, we had no shortage of entertainment on board. From comedians, musicians, and their Broadway-style show entertainment, they had plenty to do every night. They even offered a variety of other events like Movies Under the Stars, live music in the bars and lounges, and just so much more like trivia and games and just all kinds of stuff to make sure that you're having a great time. If you're looking for other types of activities, they had several pools and hot tubs along with an adults only area with a pool as well. They even had a spa, fitness center, mini golf course, sports court, casino area, because I know how some of you are, and much more. For the kids, they had a kids club area as well as a teens club area. These areas offered a variety of activities from video games, arcade style games, movies, and a variety of interactive activities. Overall, the Emerald Princess has a great blend of relaxation and entertainment options. Given the size, we found it to be a great option for this itinerary. With only one sea day, we didn't spend a lot of time on the ship during the day and was able to find plenty of things to do that kept us busy. Let's move on and talk about the port areas now. Our cruise started and ended in Boston. Now, I would recommend coming in a day or even 2 days early, or staying after your cruise just to explore everything that Boston has to offer. This city is rich in history, and you can easily spend several days here trying to take it all in. If you have time, I would recommend at least walking the Freedom Trail. It's 2.5 miles through 16 historic sites that will tell you the history of America's founding. We did this the last time that we were in Boston, and if you are into history, this is extremely fascinating. The first official port stop for our cruise was in Halifax, Nova Scotia. Now, Halifax is a charming coastal city with a perfect mix of maritime history and natural beauty. This is also the closest port to the famous Oak Island. If you've never heard of Oak Island, well, there is a show on the History Channel that you need to watch. It's been on since like 2014, so there's plenty of episodes to catch you up on this place. Overall, we really enjoyed Halifax. We did have a few issues that shortened our stay, so we didn't get to experience as much as we really wanted to. The first major issue was that we had to tender into port. The port was full, so we had to take tender boats. So by the time that we actually got onto land, we had already lost part of the morning. We had purchased excursion tickets as a combination to visit Peggy's Cove and also do a hop-on, hop-off tour. Now, Peggy's Cove is worth seeing. It's about an hour or so drive from the port. So you can figure at least 3 hours of your day between driving and the time that you spend there. Even if you want more time there, I don't think that you would want more than maybe a couple hours. You can pretty much see everything and visit all 4 or 5 shops that they offer in that amount of time. While we were in Halifax, they were having road construction on the way out to Peggy's Cove, which even delayed us more. On top of that, they were having a worker strike down at the docks, and they were intentionally impeding traffic walking back and forth in front of the crosswalk. So you can imagine how much of our day was wasted. When we finally got back from Peggy's Cove, we were going to do the hop-on, hop-off tour that we had purchased, but the tour operator said that it's a couple-hour round trip if you stay on the bus and you don't get off at all. We had only a couple hours left, so we didn't really want to chance it, so we chose to go see the Maritime Museum instead, which was another thing that we wanted to do anyway. The Maritime Museum is huge and displays stuff from all throughout history. They even had a large exhibit from the Titanic. Now, Halifax was one of the closest ports to the Titanic disaster. So this is where many of the survivors and the deceased were brought. They have 3 cemeteries here that hold over 100 of the victims from the Titanic. Another area that we visited on the way back to the ship is the Halifax waterfront. This is a great spot to stroll around, grab some fresh seafood, and they even have several shops. My advice for Halifax is to keep an eye on your time. And if you have to tender, well then I wouldn't buy both the hop-on, hop-off tour and Peggy's Cove. I would do one or the other. Even if there wasn't a strike or road construction, I don't know that we would have had enough time to really enjoy all the stops on the hop-on, hop-off tour. And even if we did, we would probably have felt rushed. So my opinion is I would pick one or the other if I had to do it over again. Our next stop was in Sydney, Nova Scotia. The smaller port city welcomes you to the world's largest fiddle. Sydney is your gateway to Cape Breton Island, and it's a place that's all about natural beauty and culture. We didn't do an excursion here. Instead, we chose just to explore on our own. We visited St. George Church that was built in 1785. Now, there's a cemetery right next to it that holds many of the town's founders. And on most days, there's a guy that's dressed in period attire that greets guests and gives them some history of the church. You should go by there and see this place, at least to visit this guy. He's a wealth of knowledge and knows so much about the church and the town. This town isn't that large, and most everything is within walking distance from the port area. They do have some excursion options available, but if you don't want to spend the extra money, then there is plenty to see right around the port area. If you get hungry, I would highly recommend going over and eating at the Governor's Pub and Eatery. They have a huge selection of food options, and what we had was delicious. They even have several local beers on tap, so you can sit down and enjoy a local brew. So after our stop in Sydney, we moved on to our next port, which was in Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island. This place is often referred to as the birthplace of Canada. This charming town is full of history, beautiful architecture, and is the basis for the book Anne of Green Gables. If you're a fan of this famous novel, then you'll love visiting Green Gables Heritage Place and exploring the landscapes that inspired the story. This was one of my favorite stops. This town is full of history and just has this really nice, cozy feel to it. Things are a little more spread out than they were in Sydney, but still very walkable. They do offer several excursions to help you see the town and learn its history, from bus tours to walking tours. So be sure to head to the downtown area as well and check out all of the shops that they have, and even take the opportunity to try some of the local restaurants. Our final stop before heading back to Boston was in Portland, Maine. Now, this coastal city has a laid-back vibe and some of the best lobster that I've ever tasted. We did take an excursion here. It was a bus tour excursion that I would recommend this if you're wanting to learn more about the history behind Portland and see a lot of the sites in a short amount of time. Of course, this isn't a hop-on, hop-off tour, so we didn't stop at all the sites. We did get a chance, however, to stop at one site, and that was the Portland Head Lighthouse. This is the oldest lighthouse in Maine and was commissioned by George Washington himself. This was located in a really large park area, and they had a lot of stuff there that we didn't get to see. If you would like to spend more time here, then you might get an actual hop-on, hop-off tour that stops here several times so you can spend a little more time, or maybe even grab an Uber. It is about a 10-minute drive from the port area depending on traffic. We were in Portland longer than in other stops, so we were able to do this and also do a lot of exploring on our own. Be sure to walk around the old port area and explore some of the shops that they have there. This town is full of history. Now, I'm going to throw in a bonus tip for you. Now, when you arrive in Portland, you have to go through customs before you can get off the ship. Currently, they don't have a facility to do custom checks, so the border agents will come on board and conduct them from the ship. This can take a long time. For instance, we docked around 9 a.m. and didn't get off the ship until about 1 p.m. Now, here's the tip. If you book an excursion through Princess, at least an excursion that leaves early, you get priority disembarkation, meaning you get to the front of the line. We talked to some people who did this. They were able to get off the ship, go do their excursion, and were walking around and shopping before we ever got off the ship. If you want more time in Portland, try booking a short excursion first thing, so that you are one of the people that gets off first. Overall, this was a great trip. Like most trips, it did have a few hiccups, but it was very enjoyable. One thing that was a little, annoying maybe, was the fog. Once we got north of Boston, we hit some very dense fog, and you could barely even see the ocean from our balcony. The ship was sounding the horn every few minutes. Of course, it's to alert other ships, so that was pretty loud. And if you were up around the pool area, well, it was extremely loud, especially with them sounding it constantly every few minutes. Also, they even sounded the horn all throughout the night. So depending on your room location, that could make things difficult to sleep very well. As far as when to take this type of cruise, I definitely think that taking it in the fall would allow for a more colorful, scenic view with the fall foliage and such, but taking it in the summer was still great. The weather, even in the summer, is a little cooler than that of the southern or midwestern states. So if you're from a warmer area, keep that in mind and check the forecast when you pack. I should definitely have brought a jacket for a couple of the mornings. If you're considering this cruise, we recommend it for anyone looking to experience a mix of history, culture, and stunning landscapes. If you want to know more about this trip, or you're ready to book your next adventure, be sure to reach out to your favorite local travel advisor. They can help you arrange it. Don't have one? Well, then you can reach out to us and we would be glad to help you. Thanks for watching, and we will see you on the next adventure.